Okay, guys. Again, Donna Frasca here, and I'm going to be talking about ghosts today, which I am so excited because it's like one of my favorite topics to talk about ghosts, particularly earthbound spirits. Now, I try to keep these videos short, but I have a feeling this one's going to be a little lengthy. So grab a chair, something to drink, and sit tight. It's going to be fun. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And as people come into the room, I'll just do a little quick recap. All right, guys. So welcome, everybody. Just a quick introduction who I am. Again, Donna Frasca. Now, my color to the cosmos, quick introduction to that. The color part is my background as a color expert that I've been in the interior design field for well over 30 years, specializing in color. If you look at some of my posts, you see that I post quite a bit about healing hues, holistic hues, and how it relates to the mind, body, and spirit, our chakras, and the colors that we should have in our home based on how we feel. I will be diving very deeply into colors because that's just who I am. All right, so that is the color part of from color to the cosmos, and the cosmos is the spooky stuff. Both are super exciting. And like I said, today I'm going to talk about earthbound spirits. All right. So exciting. Now, where do I begin? I wrote some notes because I have a tendency to kind of go all over the place. So I will be referring to my notes. Now, I will say this, that um, there's so many, like doctors, there's so many different kinds of mediums. And each one of us has their specialty. Some can do this, some can do that, some can't do that, some can't do whatever. Some have very specific things that they like to do and that they're good at. And you don't really know until, you've done a few readings or hung out with the spirit world for quite some time. And for myself, I've hung out with the spirit world for quite some time. So I have a lot of experiences with ghosts. A lot. I've been reading this book. Actually, it's an audio book. When Ghosts Speak by Marianne Winkowski. Man, is it good. Okay, who's Marianne Winkowski? She is the advisor for the series The Ghost Whisperer with what's her face? Love Hewitt. Jennifer Love Hewitt. And it is, I just love that series, Ghost Whisperer. I've seen the whole series, 20 seasons or whatever it is, at least 4 times. I just watch it over and over and over. Why? Because out of all the ghost stories and movies, that series is the most accurate. All right, The Sixth Sense was pretty good too with Bruce Willis, but not exactly. That's more so for Hollywood, but The Ghost Whisperer is very much catered to my life as a medium and how I connect with the spirit world. Now, what's interesting is that, oh gosh, 2014 or 15, whatever it was, somebody did a reading for me, and she said that my life will unfold as the Ghost Whisperer. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? What does that mean? And now, many years later, I understand what she meant by that, because my life is very much like how, um, you know, uh, Jennifer Love Hewitt is portrayed in The Ghost Whisperer. So anyway, if you want to read a really good book about ghosts and how they work, when ghosts speak, I'm listening to the audio book. Oddly, I'm not a reader. I have a few books over here, but I prefer audio books because I do like 1,000 things at once and I like to listen to them. All right. So Marianne Winkowski talks about earthbound spirits. That's all she sees. What are earthbound spirits? Earthbound spirits are ghosts, people who have passed who don't know they're dead. Okay. Is that a thing? Yes, that's a thing. Now, I will say this. Uh, told you this unfolds, that there are many, how can I say it, seasoned mediums that says, oh, that's bullshit. There's no such thing as earthbound spirits. And some of these people are actually teachers, mentors at the Arthur Findlay College in the UK. I know that because my mentors are there. And the mediums that I took my classes and certificates from are from Arthur Findlay College. And they're wrong. They are wrong. And you know what? It's interesting to say, if you're a medium, say, oh, there's no such thing as earthbound spirits. You can't say that because there are other mediums like myself who can see them. So going back to Marianne, who's the advisor for the Ghost Whisperer, she is the type of medium who only can see earthbound spirits. And she mentions that in her book. I see them all. I see earthbounds. I see, ghosts, people who have already passed and they're on the other side. That's how I do my readings. And I see people who are in transition, who are about to die, who have not died yet. So that covers a lot of people. And it's very interesting. Like I said, I have a lot of stories to tell. Some I wrote notes down. So I'm going to try to just touch base on all of them. All right, again, guys, welcome. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comments and I'll get to your questions. All right, so I am very scientific. I do not believe anything unless I see it with my own eyes, third eye included, or I can experience it or prove it with science. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to share a couple experiences that I've had with earthbound spirits. All right, so I was doing a reading for somebody, my client, and we were on Zoom, which is fine. You don't have to be in person. I actually prefer readings on Zoom without having the person in front of me, because if the person is in front of me, I can see them, and it kind of I'll just close my eyes or put a blindfold on because I can see better with my eyes closed. And I actually have done blindfold readings, and they're really cool. But anyway, getting off topic. All right, so I had this client who I did a reading for, and I'm sitting here, actually in my office, and then right next to me, on my right, I see this lady appear. And I kind of look on the corner of my eye, because a lot of times if you look directly at a spirit, they kind of disappear. Just happens. And at least for me. So I'm sitting here and I kind of, glance over to my left and I see her. I see exactly what she looks like. Blonde hair and, her physique. And I'm describing her to the person I'm doing the reading for. And so I'm looking at her and also I'm like, what is your name? Because I'm talking to, she's like, my name's Laura. I'm like, okay, Laura. I said, how can I help you today? Your loved ones are, no, I didn't say that yet. I said, how can I help you today? She says, my family's not talking to me. And I said, oh, now guys, also remember that when you're speaking to a past loved one, or speaking about people who have died, please don't say dead people, because it's so disrespectful. They're still people. They still have their personality and the way they want to live their life, but they're just not physically here. They're on the other side, which is not really anywhere there, but is here. Okay. I know that was confusing. So anyway, so I'm looking at her and so Laura, you said that, your family is not talking to you. She's like, yeah. And it's, I'm starting to get really mad and nobody wants to talk to me. So I tried to convey to her very respectfully that she wasn't alive. And I didn't want to come out and say, well, Laura, you're dead. So didn't want to say that. So I said, okay, well, Laura, I go, I know that's very frustrating that your family doesn't want to talk to you or they're not speaking with you. But I believe there's a reason for that. She's like, yeah, well, tell me. Guys, and this is another thing, I was saying before that each medium has their own forte. Mine is that I can hear them, with my spiritual eye, and sometimes with my actual hearing, I can hear them, but mostly with my spiritual ear. So I can hear them, and I just write down what they say. But she says, so I said to her, I said, Laura, you know, if you're talking to me, because I can hear you, I said, and I'm a medium, and we're doing a reading now. So since you're speaking with me, there's a really good chance that you're no longer alive because I don't know you, but yet we're communicating, and you can't speak to your family. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but she she pauses and she says, meanwhile, I'm looking at what she's wearing, and I'm explaining to her her loved one. I don't know the relationship. I said, okay, I'm looking at Laura, and I see her army boots and her blonde hair and what she looked like, and I'm describing, this person, Earthbound, to her niece or whoever it was. And she goes, "Yeah, that's Laura. She was in the army, blah, 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 blah." And I said to the client, I go, I'm talking to her now, and she's really angry that you guys aren't speaking with her. And the client says, "Well, she passed away." I go, "I know that, but she is not aware of that just yet." So I said to Laura, I said, Laura's the past person. I said, I'm speaking to your family member right now. We're in a reading, and you are, I'm sorry, but you're no longer alive. She said, right. And she looks at me, and I'm kind of sitting here like, oh shit, here we go. And I'm looking at her, and she goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, well, you're dead. You passed on. And then all of a sudden, it's like a camera zooms down at her feet. She had her army boots on, so that's how I knew she had a career in the army. And there was a bucket in front of her, and she kicks it. She kicks the bucket. So I'm looking down, and she had a little sense of humor. And I also said that to the client. Um, Laura says, as she kicks the bucket, she goes, "What do you mean? I just kicked the bucket? I kicked the bucket?" I'm like, "Yes, you kicked the bucket, Laura." And so I conveyed to her loved one that Laura has a sense of humor, and she's like, "Oh yeah." I go, "Well, she just realized she's not alive because she physically just kicked a bucket and realizes that she's not dead. I mean, she's dead. She's not alive." Now, remember I said before that I do everything very scientifically? So I'm sitting here, I'm like, "Okay, now what?" I'm talking to this dead person. This person who's passed. She just realized that she's no longer alive. So here we have proof of an earthbound person. Now what? So shortly, I mean, maybe 10 seconds, if that, after she realized she was no longer alive, I see this really bright light in the shape of a triangle. And actually, in Marianne's book, When Ghosts Speak, Marianne Lakowski, for those of you who just joined, she is the advisor for the TV series The Ghost Whisperer. So when my earthbound spirit realized she was no longer alive, I saw this really bright, bright, bright light in the shape of a triangle. And it was so bright, I just got chills. Just got chills. It, it was so bright, but yet not blinding. It was white, 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 with kind of like sparkles on it. And her arms just kind of went up in the air like this, and she was gone. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I've never seen that before, so I just took note of it. Now, like I said earlier, I'm very scientific, so I didn't know what that was. I assumed that she saw the light and went to the other side, as they say in the series The Ghost Whisperer. But I'm like, okay, until I see more of that, I'm just keeping my opinion to myself. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, how do I feel now? because everything is about the senses, the clairs. So I'm like, I feel that she is no longer here. Like the link was broken. Like she went somewhere. She went to the light. All right. So while I'm talking about this light, that was the story about the earthbound spirit Laura that I met. Now, the other earthbound, it's kind of a long story, so I'm going to summarize it real quick. Um, it's a long story. How do I summarize this? Okay, there was a little boy who appeared to me in a dream. This was, again, within the past 10 years. This little boy appeared to me in a dream. He didn't say anything. Now, that night was 2 days before I was going away with friends to a log cabin in the mountains. For, log cabin, mountains, fun, hot tubs, all that fun stuff. But yet this boy appeared to me, didn't say anything. I saw what he looked like. I'm like, can I help you? Didn't say a word. I'm like, great. Nothing like, showing up in my dreams and not saying anything. I'm like, fine. I'm sure everything is going to unfold as needed. Get to the cabin. And wouldn't you know, inside of the cabin looked exactly like where the boy was standing in my dream. I'm like, great. We just walked into a haunted log cabin, which I love. I don't mind, but I don't think my friends would appreciate it. So anyway, I knew he was there. So when everybody was in the hot tub or out playing golf or whatever they were doing, I was just kind of hanging out quietly and saying, okay, I know you're here. So when you're ready, and he's just a little boy. So you had to be careful of how you speak to, children in the spirit world. So he said to him, I said, okay. So, and again, for the people just joined, talking about earthbound spirits. So this little boy, I'm guessing like 6 or 8 years old, knows that I know he's there. Fine. Shy. He's a little guy. So that night we go to some kind of German restaurant. And I was literally there for 5 minutes. We sat down. We all ordered some wine. 1 glass of wine. So if you're thinking that I was, tipsy, I was not. I took a sip from my glass of wine and I excused myself to go to the ladies' room. So in the ladies' room, I come out and there's the boy. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. I go, I didn't say that to him. I'm like, okay. I said, hi. And he said, are you my mommy? And I said, no. I said, I am a mommy, but I am not your mommy. I go, I saw you at the cabin. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I want to play with my mommy. I'm like, oh God. And I'm holding back the tears because, I think that was the first time that I saw a earthbound child. It was very upsetting. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, I go, how about we do this? I am here with my friends having dinner. Go back to the cabin and meet me there and we can chat and find your mommy. I'll help you find your mommy once we get to the cabin, but we're at a restaurant now. I go, I can't help you here. And he puts his hand out in front of me and I see his hand, little hand. And, again, he goes, are you my mommy? I'm like, no, sweetheart. I go, I am not your mommy. So no sooner did I see that I saw the same white light that I did with Laura, the other earthbound spirit. And I kind of backed up because it was so bright, but yet it wasn't blinding. It's really hard to explain. I'm looking at this and I see the little boy's hand in front of me and I see another bigger hand on top of his. And then, there was the light and they both were gone. So here we go. 2 earthbound spirits. I know that because I saw them clear as day, clear like you're seeing me right now. And there's a pattern of once they realized that they were not alive, there was this light, triangle shape, very bright, and then they were gone. And then after the little boy left, I'm like, okay, What does it feel like? What do I see? What do I sense? And there was nothing. I just started bawling my eyes out because that was so emotional. I texted my friend who was sitting at the table. I'm like, please come to the bathroom with me. I'm just wrecked. So she comes over. She's like, what happened? So I had to explain to her. But anyway, okay, so here we go. 2 earthbound spirits did not know they were dead. A little boy, an older woman. Once they realized that they were no longer alive, this white light came in and everything was cleared. So now, for me, I definitely can see, earthbound spirits. And I know that if they decide to go to the other side, there's this triangle piece of light that gets them there. Now, next on my list, I'm going to tell you about a earthbound, again, another little boy that did not want to go to the light. All right. So, all right, guys. Any questions, please? Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Super exciting. We're talking about earthbound spirits and ghosts. Please put comments in the bottom if you have questions. Okay. All right. This again, a lot of these ghostly experiences took place since 2014, which is when, I mean, I've been a medium my entire life, but 2014 is just, I don't know what happened, but it just went berserk, hasn't it? And has not stopped. So, all right. So I'm in my backyard here, and it was towards sunset, and just sitting with spirit. And I just felt so connected. And you get this feeling that, when you connect with spirit, it's just love and just a deep connection. Super nice. So then all of a sudden, all these visuals started going through my head. I'm like, wow, like these little movies. And they were people. And I'm like, wow, I go, what's going on? And what I realized is that my soul or my mediumistic link or whatever it was connecting with people who were the loudest. That's the way I can explain it. So I saw a series of people and situations, from this man who was on a green couch laying there, and he's like, somebody please help me. He was dying of cancer. He was in transition. And, I couldn't, I put that one aside. Then the next person came in, put it aside, like I was flipping through a ghost book. So then I came across a lake. I can't recall if I was sitting outside. I didn't know if I had my eyes closed or if my eyes open, but it was clear as day. So I was like, "Ooh, this has my attention." So here I am. I see this visual of a lake. It was nighttime. It was woods. It was beautiful. Dark blues and blacks and beautiful colors. I'm like, wow. I go, 1 minute I am sitting in my backyard. Next minute I am in somewhere by a lake. I'm like, just gonna go with it. No fear. Just gonna go with it. All of a sudden I am under the water, and I was aware. It was like a lucid dream where I'm aware of being underwater, but I could breathe just fine. I knew I was safe, on the physical plane, and my soul or my spiritual self is astral traveling, projections is what it was. My physical body is here, and I just projected out to help somebody else. So I'm underneath the water, and I'm looking around. I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is cool beans. I am under the water, and I can breathe, and I can move around. I'm like, okay, but why am I here? So I looked forward, and I see a little boy. I saw what he looked like, with brown hair, white shirt, blue pants. I described him. I could describe him to a T. And he was a little boy. So I went up to him and I said, hi. He goes, hi. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, what you doing? He's like, well, he goes, I'm sitting here and this rock is on top of my ankle. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay. So this little boy apparently was swimming in the lake, and he drowned, and something happened. He got this boulder on this big rock on top of his leg. So I'm looking down. I'm like, yeah, I see that. I see that you have a fairly big rock on top of your ankle. I go, that must feel uncomfortable. And he said, yeah. He goes, can you take the rock off my leg, please? I'm like, sure, I'll do that for you. So meanwhile, I'm like, how is this happening? How is this happening? But yet, you know, I'm still trying to keep calm, cool, and collected. Not only that I'm freaking out because now I'm underwater, but yet I'm helping a little earthbound spirit boy who is dead, who doesn't know he's dead. I was like, okay, so I said, I'm just going to lift this rock up off your ankle, and then you can swim up to the top of the lake. Okay. He's like, okay. So I take the rock, move it out, and he goes to the top of the lake. It was kind of deep. I would say it was a good 15 feet deep. So I'm at the bottom of the lake looking up, and I see him swimming up. I'm like, this is freaking cool. So we both go to the surface of the water, and I said, okay. And I look like towards the one side of the lake, and I see the same piece of triangle light that I've seen in the other readings that I've done. I'm like, I said, there again is that triangle piece of light that that the earthbound ghosts are supposed to go into if they want. So I said to the little boy, I said, hey, I say, I think that you drowned here in the lake. He goes, yeah, because I think I did, but I'm okay now. I'm like, okay. I said, do you see that light over there? He's like, yeah, that's really pretty. I'm like, I think you're supposed to go there, go into that light. He's like, no, I don't think I want to. I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm saying to myself, I never came across this before where earthbound spirit does not want to go into the light. So I'm like, okay, stay cool, Donna. I'm like, okay, well, where would you like to go? And he's looking around, and on the shore was a house, like a log cabin. He goes, that's my house. I'm like, okay. He goes, I want to go there. I'm like, you want to go back into your house? He goes, yeah. I'm like, you don't want to go into the light? He's like, no. He goes, I want to go see my mommy and daddy and my family. I was like, okay. I said, well, I forgot. I don't know if he told me his name or not. I don't remember. I said, well, I'm going to tell you a little something. I go, what happened here is that you were swimming, and I believe you drowned and got stuck underwater and you passed away. I go, now that you're, up on the surface of the lake, I believe you're supposed to do is go to the light, and you see, all kinds of amazing things on the other side. He goes, yeah, but I want to go home. I want to go see my family. I'm like, okay, well, you do that. If that's what you want to do, then you go to the house and see your family. I'm going to tell you this. Since you're no longer alive and your family's alive, they may not be able to see you. I go, but they could feel you, and they could feel your love, and they'll probably on some level know that you're there, but it's going to be different. I go, is that okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, that's okay. He says, I just want to go over to my house and see my family, my toys, just a little bit. He goes, I'll go to the light later. I'm like, oh. I'm like, all right. It's like, all right. So I need to recover from this one. And then I woke up from my astral projection, whatever it was, and I'm in my backyard. I just started crying. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Go, how is this happening? What is this? This is my life. All right, guys. So that was another story, not a story. It actually happened, of a earthbound spirit who did not want to go into the light, where the other two experiences I had, they chose to go into the light. Okay, guys, I'm telling you, this is very emotional. All right, so we're half hour in. Questions? Anything? Anybody? All right. All right, what else do we have on this list? All right, so I'm going to keep talking about different types of ghosts. Now, things that go bump in the night inside your house. Can they be ghosts? Yes, absolutely. But it takes a lot of energy for a spirit person to move things in your home, to move stuff off the dresser, to hide your keys, to do all that, spooky stuff. but it's possible, very possible. But sometimes, like the thumps or the footprints, the footsteps that you hear in your home, they could be residual spirit energy, which means it's like a loop where, let's say, the spirit person who lived in the house used to walk from the kitchen to the dining room, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and died in the house. And you hear those footsteps. That's residual energy. But anyway, and these are all things as a medium that you have to figure out how to discern. Like I had a client, actually it was a friend of mine. She had a client that the client said, things on my dresser, keep getting pushed off, you know, these figurines, whatever they are. She goes, come over and sage my house. So my friend's like, oh yeah, I'm going to come over and sage your house. I'm like, she didn't know any better. So I said to my friend, I said, why are you saging a house? She's like, well, because there's some kind of ghost there and, it's pushing stuff off the dresser. I'm like, okay, so why are you saging? She's like, well, I'm going to remove it. I go, no, you're not. I said, no, all you're going to do is you light your little smudgy wand and blow smoke in your house, but you don't. I didn't say you don't know what you're doing. I go, but that's not going to stop that spirit person from pushing stuff off the dresser. And she was like, okay, well, you fix it. I'm like, fine. So, so what I did was I didn't meet my friend's client. I just, energy is awesome. You don't have to be one-on-one with a person for readings. All you have to do is close your eyes and it's just an energy connection. So I said to my friend, okay, what room is it? She says it's her bedroom. I said, okay, what things on her dresser are falling off? She said they're figurines, they're little statues. I'm like, okay, what are they statues of? She says, I don't know. They're just statues. They're just, figurines. I'm like, okay, where did she get them from? Did she get them from an antique store? Did she get them from somebody? She says she got them from her dad. I'm like, okay, we're making progress here. I said, is her dad dead or alive? She says her dad is passed. You have to be like a detective, when you're doing mediumship readings, because you just can't say, oh, things are falling on my dresser. I'm going to, sage and make it go away, because it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So, so I said, okay. I said, just give me a minute. Let me just tap into that energy of that particular ghost. And if you just joined, we're talking about earthbound spirits today and different types of ghosts. All right. So I tapped into my friend's client to see what was going on. And it was almost like her dad was talking to me. Her dad was passed. And what was going on, and I almost saw it too. It was kind of foggy. Again, it wasn't my client. I didn't have permission to connect with the client, but my friend said I could take a quick peek. So, so I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I see my friend's client's dad show up and he goes, that's my daughter. I'm like, okay. I said, what are you trying to do? Because I just want her to know I'm okay. And I said, okay, but you're pushing things off the dresser and you're scaring her. He said, yes, but those are figurines that I gave her. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So your daughter needs a little help understanding what you're doing, but I will tell my friend who will tell your daughter that it's you're okay, and you're just trying to get her attention. He's like, okay, good. Thank you. So tell my friend, I said, okay, here's a story. I go, her house is not haunted. Well, kinda, but it's her dad. Her dad is just trying to get her attention. That's why he's pushing stuff off the dresser. He just wants to let her know that he is okay and that he loves her and that he sees her every day. Tell her don't sage, because you're just going to try to chase away the dad that's trying to connect with his daughter. I said, just tell your client dad is okay. He loves her and he is with her, especially by those figurines that he bought actually for her. I don't know. So a couple of days later, my friend gets a hold of me and she goes, by the way, she goes, you were spot on, about that reading. She says things stopped falling off the dresser and her client, the dad's daughter, feels at ease and happy knowing that her dad is okay. So the message was received. So this is what I'm saying, guys. Just because, and these are for all the mediums who do the house clearings and all that stuff, and they get the sage wands. That's all fine and dandy. In some cases, I've done it too. But before you do all those shenanigans, find out what's going on in the house. Connect with the people. Connect with the spirit people. It's amazing what they'll tell you if you just ask. All right. All right. So attachments. Here's ghosts that are attached to objects. All right. So we talked about earthbounds, and I talked about people, who were dead that didn't know that they were dead. Those are earthbounds. People who ascended into the light, and some people who chose not to ascend into the light and stay here on Earth as a earthbound, but would ascend when they were ready. All right. So attachments. Sometimes spirit people are attached to items, jewelry, furniture, decor, stuff like that. I went to my friend's house a couple years ago, and she's a belly dancer, and she's got all these really cool costumes and such. And so we're hanging out at her house, and she goes in her room, and she said, "You know what?" She goes, "There's weird things that are happening in my room." I'm like, "Well, what kind of weird things?" She's like, "Well, just noises and just a weird feeling, and it's just very uneasy." I'm like, "Okay." I said, well, where do you feel these feelings in your room? And she stood by her closet. It's like, okay. So I stood by her closet. I'm like, okay, I feel it too. Let's investigate. So I said, "Is it okay if I open your closet?" And she's like, "Sure." So I opened up her closet, and inside her closet was all her costumes, for belly dancing. It's like, wow. I said, "Really, really cool costumes, very pretty." Some she made herself, and some she got from thrift stores and um, boutiques and such. So I said, "Where did you get these?" She's like, "Well, some I made, and a lot of them I just got from Goodwill, thrift stores, and I take pieces here and pieces there, and I make one costume out of it." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's the problem." I go, "What's happening?" And I just closed my eyes for a second. And I saw a woman standing there. She's like, "These are my costumes." She's taking them apart. I worked really hard. I'm like, "Okay, you have a spirit person here, an older, woman, and she's upset that you have her costumes and you're taking them apart." My friend was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, No, she's right here and she's a little angry." I go, "But we'll fix it. Just calm down." So I'm looking at the spirit person. And a lot of these times, especially if there's somebody in the room with me, it's telepathy. I'll just close my eyes and have a conversation with the spirit person. Again, if you just joined, right now I'm talking about ghosts that are attached to things, attachments. So, so this woman who's looking at her dresses that were in the closet, she's mad because my friend was taking them apart and reconfiguring them to make belly dancing costumes. So I'm looking at her. I'm like, "I understand that you're upset because these are your dresses, and now somebody else has them." She's like, "Yeah, I want them back." I'm like, "Okay, well, I believe you passed on, and you can't have your dresses back." I go, "Because they're here in the physical world." I go, and you're not." I go, "But I'll tell you what." I go, "My friend here is a really good dancer, really good belly dancer, and her costumes are beautiful. And she liked your dresses enough to buy them and repurpose them into something really beautiful so she could dance. So she is very thankful." Oh my gosh, I just got chills all over the place. Um, I said, "She's very thankful that you had or have such beautiful dresses that she can, design her costumes with." And I stopped and, I'm looking at the spirit person, and she's like, "I never thought of it that way." Like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, think of it that way because, your dresses are going to good use." She's like, "Okay." I go, "And we take it one step further. When my friend goes out to do her dances, go with her. and enjoy her dancing and her costume. She's like, okay, yeah, well, that's cool. I go, so your dresses are being put to good use, and they're still very beautiful. And that was it. So here you go, guys. Here is a perfect example of something weird goes on in your house. And I've had this happen with jewelry and all kinds of stuff. Just talk to the spirit person. Just sit there and tap into your senses. I can't stress it enough how important it is to get your senses really, really sharp for this reason alone. Okay. All right, guys. Any questions? We're 45, almost 45 minutes in, so I'm probably gonna start winding up. Let me just oof. Okay, I still have a few things to talk about that are really important. All right. Okay, here we go. Here's another. I did a reading for somebody, and she says, Donna, she goes, I can't sell my house. I'm like, well, why not? She's like, every single person who comes in my house, and I think her house was on the market for like 2 years. She goes, I don't get it. I have a beautiful house. It's by the lake, and nobody wants to buy it. And I said, oh, I just said that's very, very unusual. And so again, I guess I don't know. Actually, I don't know how I do it, but one minute I'm sitting here, next minute I'll close my eyes and I feel like it's astral protection, I think is what it is. Where part of me goes someplace else to look around. So I'm like, all right, hold on. I said, give me a minute. So I closed my eyes, and next thing I know, I'm in her bedroom and I see a spirit person sitting at the end of her bed. I said to my client, I go, have you noticed, like, at the end of your bed on the corner, you feel like somebody's sitting there, or, a compression? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I said, you have a spirit person in your room, in your bedroom, and it's her house. She doesn't want to let her house go. She's like, I have to sell my house. I'm moving. She goes, I need to sell my house. I'm like, all right, let me chat with the spirit person and see what I could do. So I again, it's all done through, telepathy. Chatted with the spirit person. I said, what are you doing? She's like, she wants, because this is my house. I go, I know it's your house. I go, but I forgot what her name is. I go, she's trying to sell your house, a new homeowner, because she has to move, and she can't move until she sells her house because she needs the money. I go, and you're kind of preventing her from doing that. She's like, well, I don't care. This is my house. I'm like, okay. I said, you're a ghost. Now you're a spirit person. I said, so I understand this is your house. I said, but how about you think of it a different way? I said, the people, the family who live in your house now, um, need to move. Now you have a beautiful house by the lake. There's going to be another family that moves in who's going to love your house and take care of it and beautify it and enjoy it just as much as you do. I go, now don't you want to see that? Instead of seeing a person that's in your house now who does not want to be there because they need to move somewhere else, versus somebody who wants to be in your house, who's going to take care of your house and love your house. I go, you could stay there. Your house, you could stay there if you want, but stop haunting the current owner of your house, because she needs to move on. She needs to sell the house to buy another house someplace else. I go, stay here, enjoy your house, and just let it be sold. So the spirit person was like, okay, because I never thought of it that way. I'm like, okay, well, we'll think of it that way, because that's what needs to happen. So about, I don't know, a couple weeks later, I get a email from this client. She goes, my house sold. I'm like, really? I go, that's great. I go, and she's like, yeah. She goes, the feeling in the house stopped, and like a week later, a family came in and really loved the house and they bought it. I said, that's great. Yay. See, and here we go. Another example of just speaking to spirit people to find out what they want. Because they'll cause havoc in your house. They'll they'll make you feel crappy and make stuff happen in your house. And when you're having a series of weird things that happen in your house, it's time to sit down and find out what's going on. And that's how you do it. All right. What else do I have here? I'm going to be winding up shortly, guys, because I'm only at 45 minutes. All right. So I spoke about what you call it, Earthbound. Sorry, Sugarloaf. Earthbound spirits. People who didn't know they were dead. Then I spoke about spirits who knew they were dead but didn't want to transition to the other side. Now I'm going to briefly talk about people who are transitioning between life and death. All right. So I was in a funeral parlor with my friend, actually the friend I had mentioned before, and we were painting a mural, on one of the walls, a tree with the big leaves, and each leaf had a name of, one of the family members on it, the members of the church, whatever. I'm sorry, of the funeral parlor. And it was really nice. The mural came out great. So also we're painting, and I get this weird feeling, and apparently I get this look on my face, and my friend says, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Are you seeing somebody?" I go, "Yeah, just give me a minute." She's like, "Okay." So she continued painting, and then I turn around and look behind me, and there's a man standing there. And, you know, I knew he was not alive because he was kind of transparent. And he was an old man. I saw his glasses, his hairstyle, his plaid shirt. He was wearing jeans. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, whoa. I said, "Hi." And he goes, "Hey." I'm like, "Can I, can I help you?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you do me a favor?" It's funny, guys. These things just naturally unfold for me. Um, so, but when I meet with these spirit people, I kind of, um, act like I've done it 1,000 times already. So I'm like, "Sure, I'd love to help you." I'm like, okay, saying to myself, this person is not alive. How am I going to help them? Whatever. I trust. That's the thing is I trust my journey. This is who I am. This is what I do. And spirit, source, angels, guides, whoever will just naturally help me in these situations. So I'm like, "Sure." I said, "What's your name?" He said, "John." I'm like, "Hi, John." And I said, "How can I help you?" He's like, "I don't want to be buried in a suit." Um, I said, "Okay." I said, "How am I going to help you with that? I don't know who you are." He's like, Well, my name is," and told me his name. I'm like, "Well," I go, "Okay, here's the thing. I understand your concern that you didn't want to be buried in a suit." I said, "But I can't, look up your name and then go to town and look up in, where you live and go to your family and say, I just spoke to your, you know, uh, past grandfather because, from his age, he was older. And he told me he doesn't want to be buried in a suit. I can't do that. I'll get locked up." And I said, "John," I go, "I would really like to help you, but in this case, I can't." I go, it's not appropriate. It's out of my comfort zone, and I just don't do that. You could have to find maybe another medium who has that audacity, but it's not me." And he's like, "All right." He's like, "Well, thanks for trying to help." I'm like, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Sorry." So I went back to painting the mural at the funeral parlor, and then didn't really think of no, I'm sorry. On the way home, which from the funeral parlor to my house was 10 minutes, driving along, and I look in my mirror and he's in my back seat. Almost ran off the freaking road. I said, "John, I said, "What are you doing?" I said, You can't follow me home." And he's like, "Well, I was like, "Hey, listen." I said, "A, I told you I can't help you. B, you cannot follow me home." Shortly after that, I made a contract with the spirit world. Do not follow me home, and do not scare me, and do not show yourself when I drive because all that's happened before. So I finally put my foot down and say, "Nope, nope, 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 can't do that." So I said, "Okay, John." I said, "Out of my car, go back to where you were before, but I told you I can't help you. Like, I am so very sorry. If I was able to help you, I would certainly be able to help you. All right, guys, this is where it gets interesting. So, after that, I thought nothing of it. About a week later, I said, I said, you know what? Was it a week or week, 7, 10 days? I don't know. Shortly thereafter, I go to the obits local, looked up his name, and there was, exactly his face the way I saw him in the funeral parlor. But his day of death was after I spoke to him. So he wasn't dead yet when we met in the funeral parlor. He was in transition. And that has happened to me, I want to say about maybe, I think 4 or 5 times now, where I connected with people in transition to give messages to their family members. So, for those of you who just joined, we were talking about earthbound spirits, people, earthbound people who don't know they're dead, earthbound spirits who know they're dead, but they don't want to go to the light. I talked about the light. And I talked about ghosts that are attached to objects in your house. And now talking about ghosts who are in transition, neither dead nor alive. That's a whole lot of spirit people to be able to connect with. All right. So Wanda, hi, Wanda. Wanda says, hi, does your understanding of the spirit realms take away from the sting of dying as we understand death to be on the set? Yes, absolutely, Wanda. That is such a great question. And I know that because, all right, in the year 2022 to 2023, which is a really short span, I had seven people die in my family. And as a medium, I constantly, I shouldn't say constantly, often continue to see them and talk to them. So yes, I do process it very differently. And it's interesting because a lot of people think that I'm just a bee, because when somebody says, oh, somebody died, I'm like, okay. They're like, what do you mean? Okay. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry that they died, but I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't do that because I know that they're not gone. Really stinks that, you can't physically hug and touch somebody, the physical touch, but you can still hear them. You can still see them. You can still sense them. You can smell them. And those coincidences and synchronicities, that's them also. It's subtle, but they're there. It never goes away. And when you're in time of need, they show up more. And I'm going to tell you this, that, gosh, we'll come up on an hour. Sorry, this video's so long. That I was really upset here one day, something, whatever happened. So I went downstairs in the kitchen, and I just put my hands on the counter, and I'm like, I said some words. I was like on the borderline of crying. I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel. And all of a sudden I see my dad, who was passed. He was only passed maybe just a couple months at that point, standing right next to me with his arm around me. And he goes, Donna, he goes, everything's going to be okay. I'm clairvoyant. I see, people who've passed all the time, but to see a dad standing next to me so clearly and speaking to me so clearly. And I looked up at the microwave that was in front of me, and it was 4:44. A confirmation saying that this is real. This is happening. So my dad's words were, Donna, everything's going to be okay. I'm like, I just start crying. My husband comes running down the stairs because he was on the phone with somebody, figuring out our situation. And he goes, Donna, he goes, everything's going to be okay. I'm just like, I knew that. I said, my dad already told me that. So, all right, Wanda, great question. So yes, it does take away the sting of dying big time. And I process grief differently. I wrote about grief several times on my publication, guys. Please go look at it. And I will say this about grief before I need to get going. um, that what has really helped me about grief. And I hope you guys, you know, really listen to this because it was just, a game changer for me. That, um, in the case of my dad, because my dad had lived with me the last year and change of his life, that our the day we die, we think about this day most of our lives, right? And I mean, not so much when we're younger and in our teens and stuff, in our 20s, but we think about, you know, the day that we die, a good chunk, of our life. So here my dad is in my home. He didn't go to hospice or anywhere else. I was able to have him in my house, and he was transitioning. So I was able to be with, and as awful as it was, you're welcome, Wanda. As awful as it was to witness somebody taking their last breath, it was also on an odd level beautiful. And it took me a long time to process it, but I'm like, wow. I go, here I am with my dad, who was 95 years old when he passed, who I was with him on the day that he died, on the day. Now, guys, he's, was Lithuanian. He's been through Lithuania, Germany, wars, Dresden. I mean, he's been through food poisonings. I mean, he should have died like 14 times already. um, so his day of death was on his mind forever. And I was able to be with him on the day that he thought of his entire life. That's an honor, guys. That is an honor. As shitty as it is to see your dad die in front of you, it's also beautiful. I'm like, wow. And it took me a while to process and release the grief. Because I'm like, wow. And back in the day, growing up in New York, we dad was rarely home and we just didn't have a relationship. So thank God that he lived with me like for those 18 months or so, because I really got to know him and I got to share with him the most important day of his life. I was there. Grief lifted. Telling you guys, think about that as I wind up here. Think about that about grief. And it's it's a game changer. All right, guys, I'm gonna get going, but I want to let you guys know that I am available on Zoom. If you want to do a mentor session, a reading, a chakra reading, just to chat, customize, highly customized, but just send me, connect with me here or on my email or my website. And, mentorship, if you want me to help you with the journey, if you have questions, whatever it is, I'm available on Zoom. Also, I started a new service. I just posted it on my publication, lithomancy, I think it's called. I've done it before, and in the graphic, it shows you a calendar of 2017 when I used to do these types of readings. I do all kinds of readings, so I just go through phases. I take them away, I introduce them, just change it up, fun stuff. But it's basically you have a calendar, printed out, and I have crystals. I connect with a person and I drop the crystals, and whichever day that they fall on, depending on the crystals, a reading unfolds. It's very cool. Go look at it on my publication. It's free. And yeah, so that's about it. And there's more ghost stories. I have so much, so much. I just got to share just one more before I go because it's super fun. I went to a very old bar restaurant in Savannah, Georgia, which I'm going back to in March. I can't wait. And it's very haunted. I mean, spirit people, whether they're earthbound, well, earthbound obviously, or waiting to transition into the light, they hang out at places where they can pick up energy. A bar restaurant where everybody's eating and having a good time, that is where you'll find a lot of spirit people because that's the energy they need. It's not like they go up to your light and make your light go off. That's not how they get energy. They get it from people, high areas that have a lot of people, and they soak up that energy. So when you go to a cemetery, yeah, no, there's not a lot of spirit people there. They might go there to see the grave or see people visiting on them or whatnot, but there's no energy there. There's when people say, "Oh, I'm going to go to cemetery and I'm going to look at a ghost," I'm like, "Okay, go enjoy that." But there's other places always around us where spirit people are. But anyway, going back to this one restaurant, and I'm going to wind up here because I'm already an hour in. Uh, I'm sitting there, and thank you for the people who just joined, Melissa. Uh, and So I'm sitting there, and I love this restaurant bar so much. It's so old, and it's just the food is so good. Happy, happy. So I'm looking around, and my husband's already looking at me because, "Are you looking at ghosts?" I'm like, "Probably." I go, "Just leave me alone." So he knows just to leave me alone when I'm ghost hunting. So I'm looking around, and I see three people, solid, like you're looking at me, just looking at me. And one was by the door where the kitchen was. One was maybe 3 feet or 4 feet next to her, and another one was about 5 or 6 feet in front of them. So I'm looking at these women, and right away I run it through my senses. I'm like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What do I know this to be true? Always run it through the checklist, always. So I'm like, they're not alive. Those are spirit people. How do I know it? Because A, three of them were staring right at me. I'm like, hi. And secondly, their clothes um would look like something like Wednesday would wear on, what is that? The Munsters or something, that thing. It was just not something that women would wear now. So I'm looking at them, and again, it's all telepathy because I can't say, "Hi, spirit people, I see you." So it's just I'm like, "Hello, thank you for noticing me. I see you too. Love this place here. The food is really good." So they just looked at me, they smiled, and they just disappeared. Like I look at my husband, I'm like, I turn around and they were gone. I'm like, okay, whatever. That was cool. That was cool beans. All right, guys, super fun, super long. Sorry it was long, but it was cool stories about ghosts. And Wanda says, I have experienced choking at times when I had visited Savannah. Choking. What, choking on food, or just you got something stuck in your throat? Because I'm telling you, Savannah is I walk through a bunch of spirit people because we're on the way to the same restaurant. We go there like a couple times a year. Um, I was at a corner, and as I was walking, I just got, like dizzy. You know how you feel like if you stand up too fast? And I grabbed onto my husband. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just felt really dizzy." So I stood there, ran it through my checklist. What do I feel like? What do I know to be true? What do I see? What do I sense? What do I feel? And I just closed my eyes, and behind me, I saw a whole bunch of spirit people, um, just hanging out, younger, like in their 20s or something. And when I turned around and looked at them, they looked back at me like they were, smart asses. They're like, "Huh? Yeah, you walked right through us." I'm like, "Yeah, I walked right through you. All right, you guys have a good time. Don't." I said, "Don't do that to people, because if somebody falls, I go, that's not going to be good. I go, so go take your little group somewhere else other than on a really busy corner where people have to walk through you." That's what I'm talking about, sensitivity, where if I walk through an area, sometimes it feels dense, sometimes it feels cold, sometimes I get goosebumps, or sometimes I get dizzy. These are all, you have to say, okay, am I having a stroke, or did I walk through a spirit person? Oh, guys. All right. Hi, Lori. She says, love your stuff. Thanks for all that you're doing. Got to run. Okay. Bye. Yes, I have to run too. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Go to my publication. It's free. It's always going to be free. Visit fromcolortothecosmos.com. A lot of good stuff is there as well. And again, I am available to chat with you on Zoom, which will be fun if you just want to meet me or talk about your journey. And super fun. All right, guys, this was great. And if you have something that you want to talk about for next Thursday, let me know. Just send me a message or email or something or another. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you so much.